Welcome to NFL Nexus, your home for deep dive football analysis. Today, we're cracking open the Indianapolis Colts war room to build their entire 2026 draft board, from the late round flyers all the way to their top targets. You know, this is such a pivotal year for the franchise, and literally every single decision matters. If this is the kind of detail you love, make sure you're subscribed to the channel and definitely drop your thoughts in the comments as we go. All right, let's just jump right in. The stakes for general manager Chris Ballard and his front office, they couldn't be higher. This quote from our source material over at Yardbarker just perfectly nails the pressure they are under. This is not just another offseason, not just another cycle of signing players. This is a real, genuine make-or-break moment for this entire regime. The right moves here could set them on a successful path for years, but the wrong moves, man, they could sink the whole ship. The weight of it all is just massive. And the challenge in front of them is frankly huge. Just think about this for a second. The Colts are going to be spectators for the entire first day of the draft. They don't have a first-round pick. That means they have to sit on their hands and watch as 32 of the best college players in the country get snatched up by other teams. Their draft doesn't even start until the middle of the second round, at pick number 47. So the big question is, how in the world do you find game-changing talent when you're not even shopping in the premium aisle? That's the puzzle we're going to solve today. So here's how we're going to break it all down. We'll kick things off by laying out their main dilemma. Then, we'll dive into how they build the foundation of their roster on day 3. After that, we'll hunt for guys who can start right away on day 2, look at a sneaky important position they need to address, run through some fun what-if scenarios, and then, at the very end, we're going to put you in the GM's chair to make the final pick. Okay, so let's really define the problem here. On paper, 7 draft picks sounds pretty good, right? But here's the kicker. Get this. 5 of those 7 picks are on day 3. That's rounds 4 through 7. Our source material calls these picks dart throws, and that's exactly what they are. You're just hoping to hit the bullseye. So Chris Ballard's challenge is to turn those long shots into something real. He's got to find not just guys to fill out the roster, but players who can actually contribute and maybe even become starters, all without that high-value first-round pick. Now, you have to understand something about Chris Ballard. For him, day 3 isn't just cleanup duty. It's not an afterthought. This is where he builds his teams. He's got a fantastic reputation for finding these hidden gems in the later rounds, unearthing guys that other teams just see as projects. This is where the backbone of the roster gets built. So let's dig into who they could be targeting, and we'll start at the bottom of our big board and work our way up. First up, a player type that Ballard and his staff just absolutely love, those versatile, high-upside offensive linemen. Our source calls them draft and stash guys. So look at Logan Taylor from Boston College. The key here is versatility, with starting experience at 4 different spots on the line. That's liquid gold for a coaching staff. Then there's Logan Jones from Iowa. He profiles as that perfect backup center, a really critical role for line calls and just general stability if your starter gets hurt. And finally, you got Travis Burke from Memphis. He's the classic project tackle that their O-line coach, Tony Sperano Jr., just dreams about. A massive 6'8", 325-pound frame, but with some serious explosive athleticism. You just can't teach that kind of size and movement. Next, let's look at the athletes and the system fits, guys who fill very specific roles. At number 25, we have Luke Altmaier, a developmental QB from Illinois. He's an athletic RPO operator, that's run-pass option, which makes him a perfect schematic fit for what head coach Shane Steichen loves to do on offense. Moving to the D-line. At 23, Caleb Proctor, a defensive tackle from a smaller school. But don't let that fool you. He's got an NFL body and the athletic traits you look for. Plus, he was productive, with 9 sacks his last year. At 22, there's Louis Moore, a safety, from right there in Indiana. The source calls him a ball-hawking center fielder, and for good reason. He led his team with 6 picks. And at 21, Jack Kelly, a linebacker from BYU. He is a premier athlete who just flies all over the field. He might not be the best in coverage, but man, as a blitzer and run stopper, he's exactly the kind of chess piece that defensive coordinator Lou Anarumo loves to have. Now, check this out. This quote about Penn State's Danny Dennis Sutton, this is the classic Chris Ballard target. His athletic profile is so good that he's probably a 3rd-round pick. But if he slips, if for whatever reason he's still on the board when the Colts are picking on day 3, he's the exact kind of player you sprint the card up to the podium for. This is the dream scenario for a day 3 pick. You land a guy with 2nd-round talent who somehow, someway, fell right into your lap. All right, let's climb the ladder into day 2 of the draft. For the Colts this year, this is the main event. This is the heart of their draft.
The guys they pick here, start in at 47, aren't just depth pieces. No, these are the guys who are expected to walk in, compete for serious playing time, and maybe even a starting job from day one. In this range on the board, from 15 down to 11, you see a really clear focus on specific impactful roles. You've got Nick Singleton, a running back from Penn State who's described as that perfect third down back to spell Jonathan Taylor. At receiver, Elijah Sarrett has the look of an immediate starter on the outside. On defense, Jake Golday is a cool story, a former defensive end turned linebacker who is just a super athletic tackling machine. But pay close attention to number 12, Ted Hurst. This guy just screams Chris Ballard pick. He's a 6'4" receiver from a smaller school who posted a nearly perfect 9.90 relative athletic score, or RAS. Ballard loves butting on those freak athletes. And finally, A.J. Halsey, a physical box safety who just lives near the line of scrimmage. And as we get closer to the top of the board, the potential for these guys to make an immediate impact just gets bigger and bigger. You're seeing a pattern here, right? A lot of defense. Kyle Louis is a linebacker who's great in coverage, a super valuable skill in today's NFL. Joshawn Barham is a raw but incredibly explosive edge rusher. Josiah Trotter is that classic, old-school, run-stuffing middle linebacker. And Romello Height is another explosive edge with a rare ability to also drop into coverage. But squeezed in there is Dazon Stribling, a receiver who's a fan favorite for a reason. He's big, he's versatile, and he is an absolute monster after the catch. And this quote right here perfectly illustrates the value of a guy like Josiah Trotter. See, he isn't just another linebacker. He is a direct solution to a very specific and very frustrating problem. When the source says the Colts had the league worst third and short conversion rate, what that means is on the most important downs, teams could just run it right down their throat. That's a drive killer for your own team. A player like Trotter is drafted specifically to say, that's not happening anymore. At the edge rusher spot, the Colts face a really fascinating choice. A real fork in the road between two totally different styles. On one side, you've got Romello Height. He's a bit undersized, but he is a ridiculous athlete. And his ability to drop into coverage makes him a perfect fit for the creative schemes their DC, Lou Anarumo, loves to run. Plus, he's an older rookie, so he's ready to contribute right now. On the other side, you've got Zion Young. He's the power profile, a classic run-stuffing end who would be a perfect complement to their finesse rusher, Laiatu Latu. So what do? Do you go for versatility, or do you go for that powerful run-stopping balance? And now, we've reached the top of the mountain, the cream of the crop. These are the top 4 prospects on the Colts board according to our source. These are the guys that if, by some miracle, they are still there at pick 47, the front office will be doing backflips in the war room. This is the best-case scenario. You've got a go-to receiver in Chris Bell, a lockdown corner in D'Angelo Pons, and 2 linebackers who could change the entire defense in Jacob Rodriguez and Anthony Hill Jr. Okay, let's just pause and really absorb the weight of this quote about Jacob Rodriguez. Comparing anyone to Darius Shaquille Leonard, I mean, that is a heavy crown to put on a player's head. But it just speaks to his incredible potential. Finishing 5th in the Heisman race as a linebacker is basically unheard of. Our source talks about his otherworldly production, and the numbers are just insane. 255 tackles, 11 forced fumbles, 5 interceptions. This isn't just a good player. He's a turnover machine, a true game wrecker who could transform the middle of that defense from the second he puts on the helmet. So you hear the term green dot thrown around, and our source mentions that a guy like Anthony Hill Jr. could take it over. What does that actually mean? Well, think of it like this. That player is the quarterback of the defense. They get the play call from the coordinator, and they get everyone else lined up. Getting a young, smart, athletic player like Anthony Hill Jr. to be your long-term green dot, to replace a veteran leader like Zaire Franklin down the line, well, that would set the leadership and the direction of your defense for the next 5+ years. Okay, we're going to hit the pause button on our big board for a minute, because we have to talk about a position that almost nobody is talking about when it comes to the Colts. Our second source from Yardbarker points out a quiet but absolutely critical need: tight end. And this isn't about this season, it's about being smart and planning for the future. Before their rookie phenom Tyler Warren showed up, the Colts' tight end room was, to put it nicely, a black hole. I mean, just look at these league rankings from the 2024-25 season. They were 29th in targets, dead last, 32nd in catches, and also dead last in catch rate. Yikes. That's not just a weak spot, that's a major problem for your offense, especially for a young quarterback who needs that reliable safety blanket. And then Tyler Warren shows up. And in his rookie season, he single-handedly had more production than the entire tight end group from the year before combined. Look at those numbers. 76 catches, over 800 yards. He totally changed the position for them. But here's the problem. Here's the looming cliff.
Every other tight end on the roster is set to be a free agent after this season. So what's the move? Well, it's all about playing chess, not checkers. You can't let that position fall back into the abyss it was in before. The Colts have to use this draft to find a draft and stash tight end. The strategy is simple. Use a day 3 pick on a guy with upside, like Justin Joly or Joe Royer. Let him learn for a year behind the vets, and then boom, in 2027, you have a cost-controlled, ready-to-go number 2 tight end to pair with your star. That's just smart, forward-thinking team building. All right, now for my favorite part of any draft deep dive, the wild cards, the what-if scenarios. Our source points out that even though the Colts don't have a first-rounder, this draft class is considered deep enough that a player with a legitimate first-round grade could actually, realistically, fall right into their laps at pick 47. This is how you can win a draft. So what happens if a player that everybody thought was a top 32 pick is just sitting there when the Colts are on the clock at 47? This is the grand prize, the absolute home run scenario for Chris Ballard. It means he gets an elite blue-chip player without having to give up any of that precious draft capital he loves so much. You better believe their scouting department has done the work on these guys. The key is just being ready to pounce when another team makes a mistake. So let's put it all together. We've walked through the whole board. We've looked at the day 3 depth guys, the potential day 2 starters, that sneaky need at tight end, and the wild cards that could change everything. The Colts' philosophy under Ballard is pretty clear, right? They target high-end athletes, they use their picks to solve specific problems, and they find creative ways to build a deep roster without that premium first-round pick. And now, the war room is yours. It's your turn to be the GM. Based on everything we've covered, the needs, the players, the philosophy, who are you taking for the Indianapolis Colts with that critical 47th pick? Are you grabbing that impact linebacker, that dynamic edge rusher, maybe an explosive weapon on offense? Let us know your pick and why you're making it in the comments below. We really want to see who you've got. Thanks for watching NFL Nexus, and just a quick reminder, you can help support the channel by checking out our coloring books. They're perfect for children, grandchildren, and adults too. You can find them using the link in the description or the QR code on your screen now. We'll see you next time.